O'clock, I will call our October 2nd meeting of the Topsfield School Committee to order. And we will begin with introductions, starting to my right.
Steve Greenberg, Assistant Superintendent of Operations.
Scott Morrison, Superintendent.
Natalie Carver, Assistant Superintendent of Student Services.
Colleen Anderson, Recording Secretary.
Andrew Praise, our Topsfield School Committee.
Emily King, Topsfield School Committee.
Alyssa Guston, Topsfield School Committee. Carol Willer, Principal at Stewart.
Adrian Alford, Interim Principal, Proctor.
All right, moving on to remarks from the public. Seeing none, we'll skip on to the report of the superintendent.
Excellent. Good evening, everybody. Good to see you all. Fun to believe we are turning the calendar to October. Fair is tomorrow. Is that right?
Yes.
That's tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. Off we go. So a couple updates from the office of the superintendent, starting with meeting with NRT. So Emily, myself, Mr. Greenberg, Jackie Dubois.
Barbara.
Thank you very much. Barbara Biseglia, reps from NRT, and one of the owners of the new sort of Beacon Connect NRT model, John McCarthy. John was a former owner of NRT and was our sort of main point of contact for many years when I started out here, and long before that with Steve. And then once they started to move up into the Beacon Connect world, John stayed connected. So I found interesting and helpful that John was at the meeting, for sure. I think having an owner of the company, I think they realized our degree of dissatisfaction. I'll have Emily give the bigger update because she was there as a school committee rep, but I will say one of my sort of key things that I said to them this morning was we have been very patient and we have tried to be a good partner with our vendor. And we are not an organization that, quote unquote, stomps their feet, but we are now officially stomping our feet and saying that this needs to get fixed for all the reasons that we have talked about. But Emily, if it's okay to turn it over to you to kind of give a summary of the meeting and what your takeaways were.
So, as Scott mentioned, everybody expressed our dissatisfaction. I shared some, anecdotes from Alyssa and other parents in the community, specifically on bus 28 route, and just kind of shared that the sentiment is there's just not a whole lot of trust. We don't feel safe. We don't know where our kids are, who our kids are with, and on top of the learning that's being lost in the mornings and all the other massive inconveniences. I felt like, is Scott new to working with the TT?
He is. So there was another Scott in the room, and he was, what's his title, Steve? He was the old Tim.
He's an SVP.
Yeah, he's like a
SVP?
regional.
Great.
Yeah.
Perfect. So he is newer, yes.
Okay. I felt like he was probably out of everybody in the room the one most focused on,
Yep.
I'm sorry. And he said to Scott, if you know my name, it's a problem. It means we're not doing our job. I felt like there was kind of a lot of conversation that was going macro, like for the industry as a whole, and
Yep.
Scott kept bringing it back to like, no, let's focus on what we can do to fix the problems here in Topsfield and in the Tri-Town. A couple of action items that they shared with us that I felt were a step in the right direction is they're upping their signing bonus for, I don't know if it's specifically our district, but
Yeah.
they're upping signing bonuses. I think they were at 5,000, they're moving them to 10, and they're talking about going to 15 maybe. That's for a CDL licensed driver. There's a lower bonus for a non-CDL driver. They have hired dedicated recruiters for recruiting drivers in our area. And then we talked about getting some kind of a tablet or other GPS device that substitute drivers can use instead of a sheet of paper. I hadn't realized that until very recently. There are regulations against that because it's considered a distraction in the bus. Doesn't make a lot of sense. But, they talked about it might be a year to build out the system they were going to build. We all kind of raised our hands and said, there's tech today. Like, you can use your phone today to do this. A year seems crazy. So they committed to getting back to regrouping, and it sounded like maybe a week from now they were going to give you an update on a quicker fix to get some kind of GPS technology in the buses in the event there is a substitute driver. So that felt like steps in the right direction for sure. I think they understood our frustration.
Yep.
And then we talked about longer term. I won't go into more detail, but it sounds like recruiting drivers is going to be even more difficult moving forward for things that are happening at the federal level. So we talked about, maybe long term, it's a it's a consolidation of routes in Topsfield. What would that look like? Do we want to survey the community to get input on, I wasn't sure, like either recruiting drivers or maybe start talking to people about, what would the sentiment in the community be if we did have to combine routes? Would people rather have, inconsistency every day, or this route's not going to run this week? So sounds like there needs to be more communication from us to the community in partnership with NRT about moving forward, but it felt like, I thought it was a good meeting. I learned a lot.
There were the right people around the table.
I think so.
Like I was, when we were, again, quote unquote, stomping our feet, put that in quotation marks, but just letting them know that we are, we're done leaning into fastballs and they need to kind of step up here for sure. I was worried they might send. It was just going to be somebody to like pacify,
Yeah.
so to speak. But I think with the owner of the company there, a 1/5 owner, and with Scott there as well, to add a little bit more to what Emily said, that consolidated routes piece is an interesting one, and that will require this year a conversation with the community, because the trade-off is, okay, do we want to have, I forget how many buses we have in the 3 towns altogether in each town, but is it 8 here or 7?
It's 7.
Seven.
7, 7, and 11.
Thank you. So we have 7 buses here, 7 inconsistent buses, because we have hard time finding drivers. Would we rather have 5 consistent buses, right? And I said to NRT, if that's the direction we go, then you no longer have the ability to say, we're canceling a route, we're doing this. If we're going that route and making a difficult decision for with the community, then that's a piece that we have to think about. So that's a conversation throughout the year. And then bus right. This was a young man came to see Steve and I maybe 4 or 5 years ago now, right out of high school or college, innovative kid. And he had this idea for a bus company that he wanted to develop, and Bus Right was a company that used the technology to help with routing and mapping and so on and so forth. And I was super impressed at the time, and I remember saying to him, I could absolutely see this kind of catching on, like it's an innovative idea, it's what the industry needs. And I said, we can't necessarily sign a contract with you. You would have to work with NRT. We don't run our own buses, so we can't do that. So I'd come to find out NRT and the gentleman from Bus Right, Keith, have had some conversations, but we said, like Emily said, we don't want to wait a year on some sort of a technology, so we want you to talk to Bus Right now. If you want us to pilot it, we'll pilot it, but let's start that conversation ASAP. So we then did put another date on the calendar, and Steve and I will meet with the NRT folks to get some follow-up next week on all of the items. Steve's going to send them an email today as well, like, thanks for meeting. Here's the 3 things we talked about. We'll talk about it more next Thursday to hear what your updates are, kind of a thing. So anything else you wanted to add, or did we cover it all?
I think that's it, and nothing more that I need to add that hasn't been communicated.
I have a question. Was there any problem solving around letting parents know how late the buses are going to be in the morning so they can make a decision about going to work or waiting for the bus?
Yeah, they got the feedback that, I don't know if there was problem solving, but they heard the feedback on the app is not, doing what we needed to do. Yeah. So they were going to go back and talk to IT. They said someone's name, and I said, who's that? That's the IT person, and we need to go back and have a conversation with them. So it's been communicated. We'll have more of an update probably on that next week after we meet with them.
And do you at the schools know when the buses are late? Or is it just as it happens in real time?
As it happens in real time. What happens in the best case scenarios, we'll get an email or a text around 6:30, and then we're scrambling, sending out, texting to the principals to say messages out to families. The other step that we're hoping to see improvement on is with that Beacon Family app, that they're able to push out notifications as well. But that's only as good as the people behind the app. So when you have bus issues and it's not going to the right bus, then it's not going to the right families.
They have to
We haven't gotten
flip it on the
any
back end,
morning
right?
communications ever.
On 28, because even as of today, 28 is still inconsistent, correct?
Right, but I was just thinking, if it's going to be more than 10,
When they
20
have a
minutes,
driver assigned to the
Yeah.
bus,
Yeah.
they won't say it's going to be late.
Okay, that's what my question was. If the bus is late starting the route, there's no way for us to know. Because some parents just need to make the call. like,
My
I'm
understanding
driving
is
my
the buses
kid,
are
or-
coming from a route from another school,
Gotcha.
so
Yeah.
they're not even in communication.
Gotcha.
'cause they're
They
not on
have
the
to,
same
they have to
radio.
toggle it, so here's the normal bus. Oh, this bus is out today. We're going to send this driver in this bus. If someone in dispatch doesn't toggle it over to this bus, no one knows.
It's not communicated.
And we don't know that
Yeah.
until we start getting, we have no idea that that hasn't happened. So we're messaging as we're hopefully getting the either email or text, all right? And then we're hoping that someone is toggling it over. But then when we start getting the feedback, well, I have no idea what's going on with this, and this. I don't know where the bus is. It's not showing. It's showing that it's still sitting in Topsfield Fairgrounds. So that's when we start pushing back. But we'll reach out to the person, my direct contact, but guess what? She's out driving a bus. So this all goes back to personnel challenges, growing pains with the new app, and of course, the ongoing challenges with drivers.
And then one question. So yesterday in the Parent Square communication, it mentioned like the routes. I didn't understand what you meant. It was that like the routes are available in the app, or is it just like the current tracking is available?
So with the app, you will, when you
Let's see what.
when you say, hey, this is my window, the area that I'm looking to see when the bus is going to arrive, it will tell you when it enters that window and how many minutes it's away from your stop. You do not get to track stop by stop. That's
Right.
a safety piece. So I hope I'm answering your question.
I'm just, if you're interested in current bus arrival information, please download. Okay, so you're just saying like, not the route. Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah, so there should have been an attachment with the message.
Yeah,
that
no, I
went-
have the app.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying that something new was going to be. in
No,
the
no,
app.
no.
This should be
It's
old stuff.
it's a reminder, a friendly reminder for families that if they haven't downloaded the app, that here's the instructions and how to work with it.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you for going. A couple questions about potential consolidation of routes.
Yeah.
How does Masco figure into that? Do we have
That's exactly what we
Okay.
said to them, Andrew. Yep, we said that's not a conversation we have alone.
Right.
We're married in that regard, and so,
And that would also mean longer runs,
Yep.
correct? So basically, we would be, not that, I know that 28 people have been disadvantaged all year, but now we're disadvantaging all 7 routes as opposed to just one.
yeah, and I would say that's the conversation that has to happen.
Yeah.
The conversation has to happen, there's a cost. There's a cost to everything, right? And so the cost is you may increase stability, and we may decrease quicker rides, we may decrease the ability to have a quicker ride, we may decrease more people being inconvenienced. I think the other thing that I was talking to Jackie afterwards to go over a few things later in the day in Middleton, and she said, I was happy to be part of the call, and I feel like Middleton is not in too bad of a shape. I said, you know what, Jackie, what's interesting is the transportation thundercloud over my 10 years moves over a different Middleton. All of what we're talking about now, we sat in Middleton School Committee 3 years ago, and it was the Middleton issue, right? It was a Boxwood issue somewhere in the span of the past. It's the thundercloud is over Topsfield right now. And so that's got to be part of the larger conversation as well, because, is there a way to fix it and thread the needle that it doesn't have to consolidate routes? I think that's the ultimate goal here. But if they continue to have difficulty finding drivers, and as Emily alluded to, they were talking about that may become even more of a challenge. What's the sense of having 7 buses if we're running 5?
Right. And what's the ridership? When do the ridership numbers come in terms of
So we should be doing that in November.
November?
Yeah, so I'll follow up with Lee again. They should have been keeping counts.
Yeah.
But now it gets down to, especially if you have a sub-driver and they don't do it,
Yeah.
you're going to have incomplete data. So I'll follow up with Lee to see where that is. And also going back to Dr. Morrison's point, just on consolidating routes, they will get longer. You will redefine service. That's the term we use with budgets. Want to be careful how we say it, but you redefine service. And that means certain conveniences or certain stops will go away. And there's no discussion. This is where it is, and that's it. So that is an absolute 180 from how we've functioned in my time.
And it is the case, I think, that they keep the drivers with the routes year to year. So like, if we can just fill the 28 position with a long-term person and everyone
know.
else hangs on.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
simply stated, that's the
Yeah,
challenge.
that sounds,
Yeah.
sounds
Yeah.
like I'm on board with that.
Right.
Right?
But they shared, with, again, changes are happening
Yeah.
at the federal level. They had to cancel, 4 tests
Yeah.
this week
Driving tests.
because of new regulations.
Yeah,
and
non-domicile, non-domicile.
Drivers can't
Yeah.
get CDLs, so they're already, this is happening in November apparently, and it's impacting us already in their recruitment efforts of new drivers. It's just gonna make the pool smaller. Yeah.
Good times.
Super fun. Super fun.
All right. Okay to move on?
Yes.
Great. Just some away for the day updates. Just wanted to compliment the committee for their continued foresight as they develop policy. As we often say, a policy is a rule before we need it. And, as the state looks like they're continuing to head in that direction. This policy that you have developed, the away for the day policy, just in talking with Carol and talking with Adrian, it seems to have been managed and implemented well. It hasn't seemed to, and I'll ask Adrian and Carol to weigh in, but from my feedback is I don't think there's been a lot of feedback on it. I've not received any communication or anything along those lines. We'll talk about this a little bit more in policy, but we did bring it to the policy sub. They blessed it, so to speak, and also are interested in bringing that conversation to Boxford and bringing that conversation to Middleton, which is great. So I'm happy about that. So at the Middleton meeting on Monday and at the Boxford meeting next Thursday, that'll be on there for them to digest and for us to engage in a conversation about to see if that's something they want to pursue in those 2 towns. But Carol, I think your email to me was pretty low key.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Adrian the same.
Spoken to one kid,
Yeah.
and he went, oh, and he put it right in his bag. So, and it was about that quick of a conversation. Put it in your bag. Okay, boom, gone.
Yeah. Great. So, good work. Unit A, B integrated contracts. We have been getting those over the finish line. So we did all our negotiations last year, and then we really made some awesome changes and needed changes to the contracts, really well thought out changes. And then the hard work is then all the red lines and making sure you have all the language correct. And so Kevin from the MTA and Steve and Matt and myself and Brian, and we've had Mike sort of a little bit at a time, intermittent. We've just been working together on the 6 contracts, the 3 Unit A and the 3 Unit B, and just literally cleaning up everything. Like, that shouldn't be bolded. This is italicized. Let's get the page numbers on there. Let's make sure the language is the same, or the heading's the same, the title's the same. So it is the tightest it's ever been, which super pleased about when we talk about efficiency and trying to keep us efficient. The fact that the contracts are tighter, Unit A and Unit B, and then even between Unit A and Unit B, is tremendous. Appreciate everybody's hard work on that. That was a very productive 6 months, last January to June. And so those are out for signature. You may have something, Emily, in your box. Andy,
Can she
you may
sign
have
the Unit B
something.
one?
Yeah, what's that?
Can she sign the Unit B one? Or does that have to be the chair?
How did he have it?
He sent B to me
And A to me.
Oh, yeah,
I forwarded it to Andrew.
yeah. B to you and A to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. You can both sign A, because you guys were the policy, the negotiation subcommittee.
Well, we were both there for B
Yeah.
too, but I didn't know
But
if the
A-
chair has to sign it or if anyone can sign it.
Yeah.
I don't need the ownership of signing it. but
Yeah, at the end of the day,
you can own that one.
at the end of the day, it's more like you guys prefer. I mean,
Okay.
I don't care. Yeah.
it's not a,
All right.
no one's going to call us out on it.
Perfect.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's fine. You were on the negotiating subcommittee. It's totally fine.
right.
But if you want to have your name as chair, Andrew, that's totally understandable as well. Sounds like it's good, though. Okay. So those are the contracts. Just some NEC and CREST updates just coming out of the summer. I have sat on a couple of those board meetings already. NEC, their extended school year program had 326 students, very successful. They received a 5-year grant of $70,000 per year from the Tower Foundation for general operating support. They're going to try to pursue some curriculum initiatives with some of that money. They continue to use grant funding from a DPH grant to send educators to training on collaborative problem solving and trauma-informed learning. They finished the commissioning of the HVAC that we've talked about in these meetings over the years. That was a capital project that they had to work through. And then their Recovery High School, that's been a big topic at the NEC. They appreciated the discussion, had Rennie Setter come out and do a full review of the Recovery High School. And so they're going to try to put a committee together to figure out what's the best path forward for Recovery High School at NEC. Enrollment's been low, costs are high. The return, though, is huge for those children who go through Recovery High School, and so it's just trying to, again, balance everything. And so that will be a topic at NEC for the upcoming year. And then Crest's ESY had more students enrolled. Their extended school year was also well enrolled and participated in. With the revision to Crest Articles of Agreement and the removal of a 20% tuition premium to non-members, Crest summer tuitions increased 14%, and total summer revenue was nearly 12% above last year. That was one of the things we worked on last year in this group about the Articles of Agreement. DESE has informed Crest that their vendor will perform a financial review on Crest in FY26. And Executive Director Bob Jokola was at a leadership academy and worked with the legislative team on really developing workforce training initiatives for students that attend Crest. An interesting Crest Articles of Agreement update that happens at Crest that hasn't happened at NEC is, and it just happened for the first time this week, Tri-Town now has 3 votes in Crest as opposed to 1 vote, right? So that's unique. So it's a little odd, like let's do the minutes. Boxford, do you approve? Yes. Topsfield, do you approve? Yes. Middleton, do you approve? Yes. So kind of funky that we now have 3 votes. It helps them for quorum because now with, myself there, it's 3 communities being represented. But NEC does not have that. And so it's just some confusion. It seems to be the same kind of public consortium. So the executive director of NEC reached out to DESE to say, how is it at Crest and not here? So I think at some point, NEC will probably get updated if I had to guess, because I guess they do not recognize superintendency unions which makes sense in the sense of it's one governing body, but the Tri-Town is nothing, right? We're Topsfield, Boxford, Middleton kind of a thing. So when I say nothing, I mean that office can't do anything like financial, you know what I mean? Like it's all happens through the schools. So those are the updates from that. And then the final thing is in the drive, I had asked Mary Ellen after the last meeting where she presented the efficiency study. There was like a 59-page report. I asked her, and I think she had some AI help, which we appreciated, to take the report and put it in a 4-page summary. So now this is sort of an easy-to-read highlights, the key takeaways, the next steps, and some of the immediate action items. And we're going to start executing on this in the coming month and into the coming months as we start to do the work to try to figure out a way to make our operation more efficient. So happy to take questions on any of those items.
I was happy to see this because I was wondering if we were going to put together an action plan with the next steps. So.
And this is very helpful.
Yeah.
And so this will become our guide, and we will, our first meeting, Steve and I are talking about, I think really it's with 3 town administrators to gauge
Buy-in.
Because we need them to buy in order for us to have the conversation with their finance teams, in order for us to pursue a chart of accounts, to pursue having them understand better what our vision and mission is and why the school department does what we do each and every day with our kids. So that'll be one of our next steps for sure. And that's it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the report of the Assistant Superintendent of Operations.
Good evening, everyone. What's included in the drive is the financial report for October. Nothing extraordinary to report at this point in time, still relatively early. I think everything looks good as far as what I see, and I'm going to stop talking and answer any questions.
Any questions?
No. Thank you.
All right, and then, thank you. And then the next piece is the end-of-year financial report. This is a report that we have to file with the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education each year, where we account for how we spend every dollar on not just the operating budget, but
Excuse me one
also...
second, Steve. This is it says 25 EOY is
Yeah.
the template. Sorry, go ahead.
No, thank you. And so not just on the operating budget or the general fund, but also any of our grants and revolving accounts and warrant articles. So if you are having a hard time sleeping, that is a wonderful report to use or enjoy. And the next step will be to have it audited, which we're required to do every year. So that has all the information plus the backup reports have been sent to the auditor, and we'll look forward to that audit report with management letter suggestions, hopefully in the next few months. And I will answer any questions the committee may have about the end-of-year financial report.
Any questions?
Not yet.
Very
Alyssa
good.
is going to dig into it.
No, please. It's a wonder. It's if you want to learn, it's a wonderful way to see how dollars are spent and how we categorize them. You know.
And with this, when we talk about a chart of accounts, Steve, how does this connect to that?
That is a wonderful question, Dr.
That's,
Morrison.
you know, Steve, I thought I'd just pitch you a nice little
very-
softball. You
very
could just
insightful.
hit it.
So the answer is, it is really the foundation of how our chart of accounts is created. When you look at our financial report and you get into the line-by-line detail, I believe we also include the account number on the far left. That's not just a random number. If you break that number down, it reflects which fund it is, it reflects which school it is, and then the other areas of that account number reflect the kind of expense it is. So is it a general education expense? Is it a facility expense? And then when you get in, after that, you get into, is it a supply, a contracted service, a salary? What kind of salary? So is it a professional salary, a support salary, a clerical salary? So those numbers, that's what it answers. So if you know how the chart of accounts works in a given district, you should be able to look at an account number and without looking at the title and say, I know what this is. And so it also feeds into our end-of-year report. So when I sort all of those expenses and all of those expenditure lines, and let's say in our district, we have about 400 or 500 lines between revenues, expenses, and general fund, all the grants and revolving accounts, I'm able to put sorts on it and then complete the reports in, I think, a relatively reasonable time frame, and satisfy the requirements of each of those reports. So that was a great question.
Well, thank you. That was a fabulous answer. Yeah. But that's when we talk about the chart of accounts. And
Yes.
This is talking about the working with the three towns and trying to get them in this direction. The end work, right? If you think of starting with the end in mind, what Steve has to produce at the end, with literally the end of year report, it all is built upon that chart.
It is, yes. Yeah.
And now I have a question. And so I'm going to say this. I think even though this is DESI's buckets, they don't neatly map onto the foundation budget.
I'm sorry, say it again?
Even though these are DESI's buckets,
Yeah.
they don't neatly map onto the foundation budget bucket.
Munis.
No, she's talking about foundation
Oh,
budget.
foundation budget.
So when you ask that question, and if you look at the report,
Yeah.
you will see that there are sub-reports. There's a tab that says reports.
Yeah.
And you can look at that. So when you talk about, and you scroll down, you look at foundation budget or net school spending requirements, you can see where we fit. And with regard to the Finance Committee and one of the questions about that and the research that's been done, I believe last year I sent that to that member, and I'll send this, she wants it, I'll send this one
Yeah.
too.
Okay.
And they can dissect it and use it to support the argument, whatever wants to be communicated. Yeah, I have no problem with that at all.
Yeah. Okay. I think I get it now. Thank you.
Yep. That is my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Time for the report of the principals.
Go ahead, you're first.
Age before beauty.
Oh, dude. You know?
This pickleball thing, you're just digging a bigger hole, man.
I'll go first.
Sure. We can go out of order, whatever you like. Go ahead.
You can go.
Go.
All right.
Please.
All right. Good evening, everybody. So enrollment-wise, still have 251 kids. Still also looking for a 8.5 reading specialist. Been a little challenging to find that. Moving on from that, curriculum night was fantastic. It was amazing turnout. I've been to plenty of curriculum nights before, and I would say this is probably the most robust I've seen. My colleagues did an amazing job, and it was great to see everybody. And those that could not attend, they could just reach out to their kid's teacher, and they would get an abridged version of what they talked about in person. And then some classroom happenings. Mrs. Kelleher had a fun STEM group challenge where they had to save Fred the worm, a gummy worm. First, she had to save him from being eaten by the kids, but they had to figure out how to put like a gummy lifesaver around the worm by using some teamwork and limited tools. So the kids had a pretty fun time with that. And then they were allowed to eat afterward. And then Mrs. Gibbous had kids applying some measurement in learning about volume in math in her class. The kids were very excited about that. They got a little off kilter at times because they were weighing everything because they were excited about it, but they were really involved in that, so that was nice. There is something coming from TESPO with regard to Proctor. I don't want to give it away, but I'm pretty excited about it, so stay tuned for that. That is my report.
Great. So at Steward, we're going to focus on math. We've done a lot of talking about reading lately, so we're going to look at the other curriculum content areas tonight. So a huge thank to our staff and to Paige Roboto. She has started the How Many Challenge. So if you walk into our cafeteria and see kids running towards the stage with glee and excitement, they are just doing some predicting experiments, working on their estimation skills, their number sense, and spatial understanding. So these are our two first winners for guessing there's a K to 1 jar and a 2 to 3 jar, so it's really exciting. And they're still having plenty of time to eat, but instead of waiting in line, they're doing some estimation, so that's been really fun. Paige also does a really nice job with the Math Challenge monthly. If you haven't seen it in the newsletter, sometimes our newsletter is actually like a dissertation because of all the fantastic things that are going down. So please scroll to the Math Challenge because it's really the way that she has it set up. Kindergarten, first grade, answer at least 3 problems, and then it goes up from there. But it's exciting to see kids running down the hall and bringing in their Math Challenge. So those are the 2 kiddos that were picked out of the hat for participating in the Math Challenge this week. So another thing we're bringing back to Steward is during our IT time once a month, so we call it IT4. Paige is also going to do half of the school in an outdoor classroom activity with science. It started this week. I thought it was a huge hit, and I see some first grade teachers nodding, just because those content areas sometimes get a little less time lately. So she did half of the school in the outdoor classrooms and outdoor space, and the other half of the school did a STEM challenge. And it was absolutely fantastic to see kind of all the problem solving and all the planning that went into it. And a huge thank you to the teachers for the support of all those things. And then we have been talking about budget. So we'll start those. We've been talking at the school level and at the classroom level. And Adrian and I will both be talking about that at our faculty meetings, which are coming up this month. And TESPO did their first Steward kickoff all school enrichment trend in motion. So pre-K to 3rd grade, we were up and dancing the entire time. So there was an animal storyline with lots of engagement and interactive and adult participation, which led for a great time. So thank you to TESPO for all of their support as usual.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
Thank you. Gifts and grants.
Carol. Institute for Savings, right? And the gifts and grants,
Yes,
right?
please.
So Institute for Savings, this was Paige, $5,000 from Institute for Savings. Committee carefully reviewed all applications, and they are providing $5,000 in support of STEM learning experiences. So this was something that came in June. We were unable to bring it to the summer or the September meeting, so we just wanted to bring it to the committee now. So we'll be seeking approval and receipt of the Institute for Savings financial support.
All right, I'll make a motion to accept the $5,000 grant from the Institution of Savings in support of STEM learning experiences.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all. Mr. Greenberg wants to engage the committee in some discussion around FY27 budget as it relates to sort of overall process, procedure, consumable budget expenses, level funding, non-salary, all those things. So if you want to take it from there.
Sure, thank you. So the development of the FY27 budget is underway. And so we, with ClearGov, we're able to engage in a lot of that activity early. I believe one of our goals is not to have an override. So I'm looking for guidance, feedback from the committee in terms of that budget development. Also, not just the premise of no override, but the getting it to the committee earlier. So a goal that I have in mind is sometime in November. With that in mind, there will probably still need to be some fine-tuning as we head into December. So there'll still be some parts that will get updated as we go along the way. To do that, the process becomes less democratic from the school level up. And so that first draft that the committee gets will not be how it used to be, where we go through a whole process, the appendices would get phased out, that we would be looking as far as consumable budget lines, non-salary lines, that we would be looking at FY25 actuals and applying an inflation factor of probably 3%. And so that will make those non-salary lines look much different than what you've seen year over year in terms of initial presentation.
In terms of like lack of detail.
You won't say, well, how many pencils? The question of how many pencils is that? It's going to be, well, however many pencils the principals want to buy. It changes the development. We won't be doing needs-based budget. We won't be starting with zero. All right, we'll be making an assumption. And in my opinion, it's to solve a math problem and to get the budget out earlier. That's what you accomplish.
And that's feedback we've taken over the years in
Yes.
terms of it takes 3 towns, right? It takes a long time to get the budgets out. It's into December, January. We get feedback from the select boards and the FinComs in all 3 towns that, they're waiting on the school budget, and that's because we're trying to be as comprehensive and thoughtful as we can to all 3 towns at the same time. That takes time to do that, for sure. That also, this conversation is rooted in, I would say, feedback from our liaisons. We've had liaison meetings across the 3 towns. We appreciate the work that you guys have done here, meeting with the liaisons. And we've done the same in the other 2 towns as well. But, we just wanted to kind of get some feedback from the committee on ClearGov. I think that's the module that we're using. That really has, I think, allowed easier presentation of the budget for sure, but open to thoughts on this direction.
I think using the 25 actuals now that we have them is a good way to go. And looking at where, the actuals have come in under what we've budgeted for. And then, yes, I will echo everything that you said, that the town partners need it early and are working on it at much earlier, timeline. I think we should be getting our guideline by the end of October. And we're going to continue to have conversations around that, 202. We should confirm that meeting. Yeah. But I think it makes sense to just, say this is the pot of money to spend on consumables, and, the schools do with it what they need.
I think the understanding will also have to be there's trade-offs for getting it out sooner, which is you do lose some of that lack of line-by-line detail.
You've made an assumption.
Yeah.
Now,
I guess my other question would be, and I know that November versus January probably doesn't make a huge difference, but the only thing that makes me nervous about getting it out earlier, and I totally agree that it needs to be out earlier, is just enrollment numbers.
yep.
Given that we are currently sort of at a number in most of the grades that I think we're comfortable with, kind of. Maybe not actually everybody. I shouldn't speak for the committee because there were people who were not comfortable with it last year in terms of class size.
Yep.
But again, I don't know that those 2 months make a difference because the class size seems like we don't get those numbers until we were getting them in August, is my recollection.
So we're doing it, you've got the October 1 enrollment.
Right.
That drives a piece, and so it's the starting point,
Yeah.
right? So if you get that budget to hopefully put a solution in front of the committee, when you get that budget in November, you're not voting it in November. And let's just say you're about 95% of the way there, that if you need to add a section or reduce a section, that's part of your deliberation process. And so I think that should be very fair, and it should be looked upon very favorably upon the other boards. especially considering when first drafts will go out in early January, and even before that, it was late January. So,
Sometimes February.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so we just need to be prepared that there's going to still be some moving parts. I think a very fortunate thing is that the insurance isn't carried in our budget in terms of, for timing purposes, that it's on the town side of the budget.
But
And,
that will affect our 202, because I think they're thinking of,
well, the whole argument of the 202, in my opinion, is that this is what the governing body, this is what the community voted, that the school committee's budget is this, with the 202 in it. To try to take that back, you're really going against the will of the community, in my opinion, all right? The budget is being built, and it's not like, 202, it's like the budget is being built step by step by step. That 202 isn't staying in the consumable lines. It's going to get absorbed in salaries because of contractual obligations, transportation contractual obligations, special ed, as that evolves and changes. So the 202 gets absorbed within the whole budget.
I'm just like, so the finance committee conversations are that because they carry the insurance, that's part of the reason our guideline was at 2% last year and not higher, because they pulled out the health insurance as its own guideline, and then account for that for both the school and the town, because, last year health insurance went up 18%,
Yep.
whatever, and this year it's looking like 6, I think. To 12.
6?
Higher.
We're carrying.
Anyways,
Yeah, it's,
In the other communities. We're carrying 20 in the other
it's going to
communities.
be 20, we're hearing
So-
3 years of pain, so.
that's going to factor into our guideline.
Duly noted, but
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see what that is.
Yeah. I would, as we build the budget, I think it would be helpful for me at least to hear like how the bigger kindergartens are doing at that size.
Sure.
I don't know, maybe not tonight because it's only been, 18 days, but, yeah.
Good.
Okay, so I think one of the fantastic things is that with every delete of, when we deleted a section last year, we were able to have preschool go to specials. And so 50 of our preschoolers went to kindergarten, and they have been in the cafeteria getting breakfast. They've been into the specials. Now there's another around 22 kindergartners that haven't been in the building and all those things, but that's made the transition better for the kindergartners. We were also able to really look at staffing and provide an instructional assistant to the kindergarten classrooms appropriately within the budget that we had. And so we supported it through the extra support through instructional assistants. So minus the fact that their line is so long that when they turn the corner, like you got to rally them in a little bit. I think it's going really well. I do just remind the committee that most of our move-ins are at first and second grade every single year. So that'll be an interesting conversation or interesting data point to watch as we look at our first graders.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say too, Andrew, like when you had asked about enrollment, the budget may potentially be up before we get the NESDEC report. So I just went and looked. The email that I got from NESDEC last year was the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, so late November that will roll in. So, to Steve's point, the budget may be out, but it'll be very much the first draft, right? And then we have inputs coming in like, we had 17 more move-ins,
Yeah.
or NESDEC is saying this, and okay, we have to adjust. So I think anything that he's able to produce, Steve's able to produce by November is a work in progress for sure.
And then if we have to do reductions, we were really fine-tooth combing it when we had to cut, it was like we cut the Proctor Play for $4,000 and this
Oh,
and that.
yeah.
Like, will it just be more of a
We're taking
chunk?
5,000 out
We're
of the
just
consumable
taking-
I think so, because you're not going to have any appendices
right?
to work off
So
of
it's
that.
not gonna be
Yes,
like
you're going to
one
say,
crossing guard, it's going to be
you'll say, we need to cut whatever it is, $5,000, $10,000. We're going to take it out of this area of the budget. You know how we have it in our cost categories. Principals, administration, go find it.
okay.
That's what will happen, I think, as far as process is
Yeah,
concerned.
just wondering about that.
In terms of, you asked for feedback on how to avoid an override potentially. Do you want that feedback now?
I'll take the feedback. I mean, I have my strategies, but I'll take the feedback.
I think we talked about this at the end of last year.
Yep.
I think looking at the pre-K revolving, because we're going to get flagged by that, we know.
Yep.
I would like to find a responsible way to sort of spend down pre-K, the K tuition, which we still now have. Not throwing, $500,000 of one-time spend to plug a hole.
Right.
Make a problem
Because we
the
just
following
obviously
year.
find ourselves in that hole again.
Yep.
But if there's a way to balance, to manage sort of slowly spending down the ones that cannot be replenished at this point, sort of like kindergarten,
Yep.
with incoming money through either facility rental or pre-K tuition, I think would be my preferred way of doing it.
Yeah.
But I don't want to speak for anyone else.
I agree with you.
Yeah, and I would say connected to that point, and this will be part of the TTU meeting on Monday, we continue to look for a home, right? We know the Aaron Wood lease is up, and I won't get into all those details now because that's all Monday night, but as the more we flesh that out internally, and as the more Matt's team is looking at that franchise model that we talked about with the NEC program, we're now hearing from other organizations that are interested in partnering with the Tri-Town about having programming across our 3 towns, which is fabulous. But like that's, I think, tremendous if we can do program development in that way. And our principals are, on board with having classes in their schools in partnership with different organizations. That also becomes a potential, revenue source. Pre-K growth at varying lengths around the Tri-Town if we're able to open up spaces in the Tri-Town. So you'll hear more about that on Monday, but the central office may be looking to get everybody under one roof and taking people out of the schools and getting everybody in a spot, I think causes a lot of other good dominoes to fall. So, yeah. So more to come on that, but that'll be part of the conversation.
Anything else on budget for now? I love talking about the budget first day,
Right?
October. It's my
Exactly.
favorite thing to do.
Right?
8 months from now, we'll still
I'm
be talking about it.
excited. I'm excited.
Exactly.
Another 3 years. All right. Policy subcommittee.
So the policy subcommittee met. It is Candace from Topsfield, Dave from Middleton, and Aisha from Boxford. We had some leftovers that we had to attend to before we dive into the policy fund for this year. So there's 5 here that we'll walk you through in the policy folder. Antoinette received the new newsletter from MASC, so she and I will sit and then start to figure out what dozens of other policies will have to come to your attention over the course of this year. So these are some like leftovers, things that were hanging out there, minor changes, so on and so forth. Just to shake the rust off is policy BGB inside the folder of the policy folder. And BGB is the policy on how you approve policies, and that's the reason we have a policy subcommittee, so we don't have to go through multiple readings when there are changes coming. So the first thing, if it's the will of the committee, would be to waive BGB.
And these are all voice votes, right? We have to. We can just approve. We don't have to do one person by person, right?
Yeah.
We could just do it all as one.
You mean when we go to approve the policies?
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to do them one by one.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So I will make a motion to waive policy BGB.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Well, yeah, that's fine. I'm sorry. Do we have to go like Andrew praise our guest? We can just do it all as one, right?
Yeah, yeah. Is that what you were saying? Sorry.
Roll call. That's what I meant.
Yeah, not roll call. You can just say all in favor.
You can do one
Exhausted.
policy at a time.
Yes. No. I remember that.
Yeah.
Okay, trust me, I'm well aware of that one. All right. So BGB, we're good.
Aye.
All right. Thank you. Moving
All right, ADF. So this is a huge thank you to Charisse and the wellness committees across the 3 towns. Anyone who served on a wellness committee, Charisse did a great job working with the Stalker Institute, working with DESE. Our wellness policy was in need of a massive update, and it was fabulous that Charisse and the wellness people were able to take this on. So I would say this is well written. There were no edits to it from the policy subcommittee because my direction to the policy subcommittee was, don't touch this. Because the Stalker Institute has said yes, the Department of Education has said yes, the Wellness Committee worked on it, Charisse's team worked on it, they spent a year on it. So everyone read through it on the policy sub, and they were all in agreement that the updates were good. And so this just talks about healthy programming, school meals, healthy promotions, PE stuff as it relates to exercise, food literacy, and nutrition education, competitive food and beverage standards. So all the things that we have to work on, all tied to national school lunch and breakfast standards and competitive food standards from the state. So we would be seeking a motion to approve policy ADF as presented.
All right, I will make a motion to accept policy ADF as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Excellent, thank you. EHAA, you have seen this one before. We're actually bringing it back to you because we needed to develop, and you can see in the red there, around our district security relating to technology. This is about student data and making sure data is protected. It was also the development of what's called a WISP, a Written Information Security Program that's in compliance with the Commonwealth of Mass Regulation number 17. And so as you scroll down, you'll see some of that red WISP language. And the remaining 6 pages after that is the actual WISP, the Tri-Town School Union Written Information Security Policy. And so this policy talks about, the scope of it, who consists of the data privacy team, any internal risk mitigation policies. We are meeting regularly to make sure that information that we have here, is protected. External risk mitigation policies, our operating protocols, our record-keeping protocols, breach of data security protocols. This all lives in Julie Kelly's world with her team and the IT team. And so this policy now has a WISP attached to it. So we are bringing this back to the Topsfield School Committee to adopt as presented.
All right, I'll make a motion to adopt policy EHAA as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. IHAMA is something you approved last year. After living with it for a year, we brought this back to the policy subcommittee with some feedback from our principals. This is our parental notification relative to sex education. And the original language said at the beginning of the school year, and that was clunky and kind of awkward and clumsy, just because there's so much happening at the beginning of the school year.
Sort of like sex education.
Exactly. So now it reads, prior to any lessons, the parents or guardians would be notified, and then we also could eliminate, if we're going to do it prior to the lesson, we don't have to worry about a student who just moved in. And so the policy sub was on board with this feedback from the principals, and so we're seeking a motion to approve IHAMA as revised.
All right, I'll make a motion to accept policy IHAMA as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. IHBF, this is homebound instruction, and so I know it's a little fuzzy, but homebound instruction, there were some initial edits from MASC. That was the current policy you can see up top there. And then the policy sub worked together on this. Candace took the lead on some of the language in this one as it related to making some edits. And then I sent it to legal once we worked on it as a policy subcommittee. So you're looking at the part on the bottom under the dashed and dotted line there. So we sent that off to legal to look at it to make sure that what we had come up with as a committee and approved as a committee was copacetic. And the only edit from legal was a written order of a medical doctor or a nurse practitioner. And that came out of a BSEA hearing, that nurse practitioner be included in the language. And so we'd be seeking a motion to approve IHBF as presented.
I will make a motion to accept policy IHBF as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And the final one, it's just, you guys have already approved this, there's nothing to do here, but just wanted you to know it's all official, approved. We have gone through this board and committee, we have brought it to the policy subcommittee. The policy subcommittee has approved it as well. And as I said at the top, Boxford and Middleton are interested in this going to them. So at the meetings next week, we will share and see if there is interest in moving on that there.
Great.
That's it for policies. More to come, but
Thank you
that was
again
an easy 5.
Emily and Alyssa for their work on that.
Yep.
Guys are groundbreakers, pioneers.
Is there any thought to move away from the use of his and her in the language in policies, or not really?
Yeah, we could see how MASC is delivering them to this. Thanks for coming, guys. We could see how MASC is delivering to them, but if that's something we wanted to do internally, we can do that. We did it in our contracts, in the teacher
In our
contracts.
handbooks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
I didn't even notice.
Mr. Preza, over to you.
All right, sustainability updates. Whoop, whoop. So, a little punchy today. I was traveling all day yesterday. I'm a little jet lagged. All right, so, as you know, we brought in Select Energy to do a presentation for us last year about putting solar on top of both schools. That was sort of not tabled, but set aside while we talked with our town administrator about we brought it to Scott and I met with Marshall Hook, who's the last year's select board chair, and Kevin Hartunian, our town administrator. Kevin wanted to look at some other options, potentially talk to people that he had worked with when he was in Beverly. He got back to me last month. Yeah. That his contacts are no longer operational. So sort of big picture. 2 years ago, Spofford Pond did or was it last year?
Keep going, and I'll tell you.
Yeah. So 1 or 2 years ago, Spofford Pond did a very thorough, Boxford approved money for them to do a very thorough
feasibility study.
Feasibility study
Yep.
to electrification for the school.
2 years ago, and we're doing it at Cole this year.
Yes, they're doing it at Cole this year. That efficiency study took like $75,000 or something.
Yep, that's exactly
not
right.
relevant. Yeah, and then when the proposal was brought back to Boxford, my recollection was tens of millions of dollars that it was going to cost to retrofit the building.
Correct.
Why am I bringing this up? So, part of my thinking, and we have not talked, I've not gotten back to Select, they're still interested in talking to us some more. The more I've thought about this, one thing that keeps sticking in my mind is that Select is looking for a 20-year lease. We know our roofs are good for probably another 20 based on the warranty, the guarantee we got from the last time it was fixed. My concern is the sort of the feasibility of these buildings in 20 years. Like, they're not falling apart. They're being kept in great shape. However, I have serious concerns about September and late May and June going forward in terms of heat in the building and how hot it'll be in the various classrooms and our inability to cool those classrooms currently. And the cost that it would take to completely retrofit the building with a working HVAC system that would be able to be climate controlled throughout the building.
Whether that's not mini splits or geothermal, it's tens of millions of dollars.
Yes. And when we're talking about tens of millions of dollars, there is do you want to invest $50 million in a 50-year-old school?
Steve would know that
No,
better.
it's not that old.
Clifford would know better.
Yeah.
It's more than that, I think.
I think it's more than that.
Yeah.
Or do you want to invest more money in a new school that would last for a much longer time? Now, obviously, that is not our decision to make. But I spoke with Zilly Boujou, who is the chair of the Sustainability Advisory Committee, who's an advisory board to the Select Board, and talked to her about all of this. And she was going to then see if Green Communities could potentially pay for some sort of grant for us to look at the feasibility of either retrofitting our 2 buildings currently versus building a new building or something like that. I have not heard back from her. That was a conversation I had about a couple weeks ago. So the update I have for you is, personally, I would like to hold off on committing to a solar project. My concern is that we agree to a solar project that in 10 years we're pulling off the roof and we're paying a massive penalty for.
Yep.
So I would like to sort of more thoroughly investigate, if money allows, having the town really look hard at what is our long-term goal. Long-term goals in terms of sustainability for the town, because obviously the schools are part of it, but also we have 3 or 4 other buildings in town. Long-term sustainability goals and long-term vision for the school buildings. I think there are a lot of advantages to having pre-K through 6 in one building. I think you could, I've already got ideas where we're building this thing. I know what we're doing with Stewart School. I got it all mapped out in my head.
The Andrew Prezar Memorial.
No, I will be dead before the school is built. But I think there's a lot of things to consider, and I think it's worth a deeper discussion across various town boards about where we want to commit our resources and money, and thinking long-term about, which in this town doesn't always do a great job of, in my opinion, of thinking long-term about in 20 years, where are we, where do we want to be? Because I think it makes, given the timeline to get things, and I'm going to say, is it MASBC?
MSBA.
MSBA, get things into the Massachusetts School Buildings Administration pipeline, it might not be a bad idea to start kicking the tires on what we want the future of education to look like in Topsfield. So we went from a solar project to redefining education in Topsfield.
Conversation. Those are speaking our language.
Because I think with like a new school, you could have pre-K in the building with everybody else. You could have an auditorium. Everything could be climate controlled. It could be solar. You could have geothermal, maybe potentially up in front.
Let's just vote
I think
on
you
it.
build it
Let's vote
right
on
out
it.
back on the ball field, and you knock down the old part, the new part of this building. You keep the Georgian building because it's historical. You do the drive-through here for the buses, and then you sell Stewart School to some residential person who develops it, and the town makes millions of dollars off that.
We
Schools
stand, we
make
stand
millions
with
of dollars off that. What's that?
Carol doesn't want to leave.
We stay
Carol, like I said,
Stay in the wood.
you and I will not be part of the school
This is
system.
way too
by the
public.
time this-
Way too public for me.
I applaud Andrew's, when Andrew and I talked about this, I applaud the thinking and the bringing it up, because it will take 10 years for any sort of conversation to take root. But if no one begins the conversation at a public meeting about thinking down the road and what is best for the kids of Topsfield and the educational model, and, right, do we keep putting money into buildings that are decades old, we'll say, probably not more than 50. Clifford could tell you what building and brick was laid, what date. But it is a conversation that I think this group should continue to talk about, and talk about it to others, because people will usually initially have a very, yep, that's the reaction to it, adverse, because you see dollar signs and you see this and you see that. But when you really start to, and this is the conversation I had in Boxford when we talked about in Boxford. Okay, so the HVAC part of it is 15 million to do, which is now probably 18 million because it's 2 years old. And then what's the electrical fixes that we're going to have to do? What are the plumbing fixes that we have to do? What are the roofing fixes we have to do?
Already has the students while the building's being gutted for a year.
Correct. The site work that has to happen at all these sites are tired, right? And when you start to add it up, you get to pretty close to, we could have built a new school number. So I think it's an idea worthy of continued conversation and pursuit, because it will take a long, long time.
And I am concerned about heat-related illnesses for students and staff in our buildings, given how warm. I mean, we dodged a bullet this September, but past years it has been very hot.
I agree.
And having been in the second grade wing at Stewart, it gets very hot, even in May. So
I agree.
and it impacts learning. So if we can figure out a way to make it work, it would be great.
Yep.
Or start the conversation. at least.
Agreed.
Yes.
So we just need to, I'll make a note in the notes so we don't forget to continue the conversation, because when budget hits and all the other throes of the school year hit, it'll be an easy thing for us to forget.
I'll drop that bomb on Raphael and Kevin when we see them next week.
I think that's perfect.
I want to school.
I mean, their member, probably Raphael, would also say Masco has so many empty classrooms, we should pull 6 into Masco. But I don't-
Sixth grade into Masco.
I don't like 6th
Good luck at
graders.
it.
Middle
It's
school.
up to the parents.
Yeah, you're gonna have to do all three. That's
I know, but I'm just saying, like, I think, like, other people's gears are also turning
Yeah.
on how to use space. And
it'll take a building committee. You'll need a
Yeah.
building
Yeah.
committee for that.
We should mark the date. It's October 2nd, 2025. Someone should write it on a wall.
my notes say, what is the future of education in Topsfield?
We should write it on the wall in the school and see when it happens.
Exactly.
Great. Just a couple final things. So the TTU meeting is on Monday. That's your other TTU, Candace's TTU, and Alyssa's TTU. Awesome. So that'll be
that's at Fuller Meadow.
Fuller Meadow. Yeah, right after Middleton. So we're going to try to button up Middleton a little bit earlier so we can have a 7 o'clock start, not a 7:15 start. Brian has a whole presentation planned. He'll be at a conference, so he videoed the whole thing. It's already queued up and ready to go. But just on the whole search for, as we embark on Steve's replacement and all the work that will entail. And outreach to FinComs and select boards and town administrators and all the different pieces that he will embark as we engage in that. The survey's already out. We're already getting feedback from folks, which is great. I read one of the survey comments just to make Mr. Greenberg's day last night. I said his wife clearly wrote it. As a parent, I've been watching school committee meetings regularly since 2020. I have been very impressed with Steve Greenberg and hope we can find someone who can fill his shoes and make the transition seamlessly.
Wow.
So clearly Darlene wrote that. Clearly.
Steve wrote that.
His wife got a hold of the survey and wrote that. So that is out. We are collecting data on that. We will dive into the central office FY27 budget, and then CO offices, as we talked about, the lease is up, and there are a lot of moving parts associated with that. And we're looking at a number of different options that could potentially be beneficial for a whole lot of reasons. And so we'll dive into that at the TTU meeting as well. And then our next meeting is on November the 6th, and then I don't have any others.
All right. So I'll make a motion to accept the bills and payroll as listed in front of you.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And then we have minutes from our September meeting. I had one question. So in the away for the day language or summary, so did it go in? So the way it's written makes it sound like it didn't go into effect until the TTU policy subcommittee approved it.
No, you guys, it was in effect when you guys
Right, that's okay. That's what I just wanted to make sure. Because yeah, it says before approval before implementation, but I just wanted to make sure that it was in effect when we passed it.
Is it under new business? Yeah, wait for the day. So we should edit that. Whereabouts are you? How lines up or down?
About halfway through. So it says appraise are added that the policy will need to go to the TTU policy subcommittee for approval before implementation.
Yeah, so I'd say for approval to support implementation.
Okay.
If you're okay with that.
That's fine.
Great. So if you can just make that edit, Colleen.
And but this is like me being hyper detail oriented. In the school improvement plans, it just says Julie. I was just wondering if we could keep it consistent with like a last name or something.
Yep. Where are you? Under right there. Yep.
School improvement plans. The second line just says Julie.
Oh,
don't
Julie
know.
Kelly.
Yeah, maybe we could just put a last name.
Sure, Kelly. Yeah.
Perfect. Good edits.
Cool. Anything else?
I just had a parental request. If there's any way we could get the lunch menus before the first day
Wait,
of the
what,
month.
this is not minutes related.
Oh, sorry.
We have not approved the minutes
Oh,
yet.
sorry.
I was like,
I've been hyper.
so I will make a motion to approve our minutes from the September 4th meeting with recommended edits.
Tuesday's always breakfast. Friday's
All those in
always
favor?
pizza.
Aye.
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 All right, Dr. Gustin, would you now like to bring up the school menus?
So if you just put the bookmark of the food meal planner on your thing, you click the arrow and it
Yeah.
automatically goes.
It does not load the next month. Yes,
have
it does
more?
not load. Yes. This is not a request from me.
No, I'm just
Oh, it
asking.
would benefit
We
me.
already have it, so yeah, no problem.
Okay.
I mean, Tuesdays is always breakfast, Fridays always pizza.
I think she's advocating for all the community members, but I will find out.
So just in regard to that, so you're saying off the website, when you click on Whitson's, and it takes you out to the Whitson's location.
Yeah, that
Put in
food planner.
Topsfield, and I click on Stewart, lunch, view menu. So that is October. That's in there. And if you're saying I click the right arrow, no menu available for November.
Okay, and it's really not till the night before.
It's the day of. Yeah.
So you're saying the October one came out yesterday?
Yes.
Okay. Can you talk to them about that? That should be a really easy fix.
Yeah.
We get it like 5 days before,
Right.
before,
So
so,
someone's just not loading it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Weekend
Thank you,
planning.
yeah.
All right, any other business?
Just talk to Whitson's.
Lunch or non-lunch related?
I'll talk to Whitney.
Like some nice served lunch.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well done.